Hello and welcome to Inclusive Blog powered by RECONOMY. Across Eastern Europe and the Western Balkans, the green transition is accelerating. Governments are introducing new regulations, businesses are being pushed to become more sustainable. But behind the climate targets lies another important question. Are greener economies also creating better jobs and opportunities? Or are we simply creating new compliance costs for businesses? And perhaps even more importantly, who actually benefits from the green transition? In this episode, we explore whether sustainability is becoming a real economic opportunity for women, youth, and businesses, or whether many risk being left behind. Joining me today in this episode are Nataliia Koshovska, RECONOMY Gender Equality and Social Inclusion Advisor at Helvetas, Lasha Nakashidze, RECONOMY Environment and Climate Change Advisor at Helvetas, Johanna Klein, Independent Consultant and Partner at GlobalCAD, working on green economy, innovation, sustainability, and climate adaptation strategies, and Stefan Trajkov, Project Manager at Macedonian Solar Energy Association. Welcome to all of you. For years, sustainability was often seen as something optional, something companies could pursue if they had extra resources or interest. Today, it's very different. From your perspective, what is driving this acceleration toward green transition across Eastern Europe and the Western Balkans?
Greetings, Sabine, and thanks for having me and us on this videocast edition. So you framed it correct. I think a couple of years ago, or maybe a decade ago, the sustainability was seen as optional, something as an expression of a goodwill to do. But recently it has changed a lot, and we see, especially if we take Eastern Partnership and the Western Balkan countries with this, which unite all of them, that they are EU candidate countries and they are aspiring to become EU members and are on their path of EU accession. I would say that in many ways, sustainability and green transition in these countries is informed. And of course, the driver force behind this momentum is the EU accession and Green Deal and other generally green agenda that EU requires accession countries to comply with, which is otherwise, I mean, broadly, of course, it's not about only accession countries, but any country that wants, for example, to export and place its goods and services on the EU market, they have to comply with this, which is broadly known as Brussels effect, which is quite strong effect, I would say. Then I think if we go sector by sector, Sabine, there is also other drivers. For example, in case of energy, we understand recently observing how global energy supply chains, we are shocked by some geopolitical moves. Of course, countries came to a very sharp realization that energy security depends on renewables, energy efficiency, and more diverse energy sources. And we go sector by sector. I understand we don't have that time, but it's EU accession driver, it's sectoral different also drivers that motivates countries, I would say, in private sector to align more and more with sustainability agenda.
Thank you, Lasha. I'll come back later to you. So, Johanna, you've worked across different countries and contexts on green economy and climate adaptation strategies. Now, looking beyond our region, what trends are you seeing globally? Are countries succeeding in turning environmental ambitions into economic opportunities and jobs? Or is there still a gap between the two?
I think I'm very much in line with what Lasha said. I would say, I think there has been really this shift. I think the Green Deal and other similar frameworks actually, and also in other parts of the world, South Korea is always a good example, or also some countries in Latin America have really worked under this logic also that we are not only looking at this from a compliance perspective anymore, but really also looking at it from an investment-driven area. Basically, I think a lot of capital has been attracted also to this topic of green tech, green economy, different green sectors, especially, of course, also in the area of renewable energies. I think my answer would have even been more optimistic if you would have asked me a year ago, basically. I think lately there is unfortunately some political headwind also. I think that we are seeing both in different countries, I think, and this, I think, leads to making the overall picture more complicated. And what I feel here is very important, that actually the green agenda is therefore integrated really into a more broader economic agenda, that it's not only about the green areas, which at the moment has lost a little bit of political momentum, I would say, in some countries, but I think seeing it in this sense of energy security, competitiveness, really being able to link industrial strategies also to the green agenda, I think that's where things really move forward also in the future, and also without maybe this very strong political backing that was there until very recently. And maybe I think, for example, I've been thinking a little bit also about examples. I think Spain, for example, I live here, that's why a little bit also I wanted to use this as an example. I think it's a good example also because they have really focused on a very deliberate also industrial strategy that's combined with energy independence, basically, and really have managed to create sectors around renewable energy and really created also big companies that create jobs, basically, like, for example, Siemens Gamesa, etc. So like really big international players that are now really able to create also ecosystems, regional ecosystems with regards to environmental technologies and with regards to the green economy. And I think like combining these three aspects is actually very important.
Thank you, Johanna. Lasha, back to you. You said that green transition is also driven by EU accession process. And which sectors do you think are creating the most opportunities?
Well, I think if we take Sabine, how the market shift, I think that's important for jobs, and also how much private sector actually implements these sustainability principles into their business practices. I think we see clearly market shift, so to say, towards greener and more sustainable practices, with the caveat which Johanna mentioned, that due to some political leaders or other developments in recent years, I think this skepticism to sustainability has come back to some degree, but still, I think more or less we see this shift to greener practices. To me, what comes first, maybe biased my more focus on energy, it's energy, because in case of energy, I think there is a clear case for renewables, for energy efficiency generally. And if you look at the charts in recent years, solar, wind, and other kind of renewables, they are increasing. And I think they have already overrode the fossil fuel-based energy sources in general. So case there is clear. Even the financial system now has quite a standard loans for funding renewables. So energy sector is on a very solid track towards becoming more and more green. But I think if you go sector by sector, again, you have a very different picture. What comes to my mind now, if you look at the circularity in general, I think there we have still systemic gaps. I remember that in many countries and in many subsectors, it depends on the stream of the waste, but sometimes for the companies, it's cheaper to use virgin materials than to reuse the used material, to recycle, upcycle, or use the recycling in their production line. So I think this is a very big gap in circularity. So we understand that private sector would not deploy on a large scale circularity until virgin materials are cheaper. And this means that there needs more regulatory frameworks and economic instruments and financial instruments so that to make, I would say, use of secondary materials more economically attractive and viable for this sector. To summarize is that there is a shift, but the shift is different sector by sector.
Thank you, Lasha. And what lessons could Eastern Europe and the Western Balkans learn from other regions, Johanna?
I think with regards to the lessons, I would actually again go to what I said before. Like, don't separate the green really from the economic agenda if you are looking for long-term success. So I think it goes also again with look at what your country is good at, right? What is your industrial base? Which sectors are actually, where does it make sense really to focus upon, and also use this EU accession process as a possibility, I would say, and as an opportunity, not only to see maybe the regulatory part, but really also to see these opportunities to make companies greener and more competitive also then with regards also to export to other countries and to other markets, and makes them overall more streamlined also then with other markets. I think that would be from my side the most important lessons to learn basically for the future, and maybe also use I think the case of Morocco, for example, here is interesting because they actually really position themselves very much as a country that is producing, for example, green hydrogen, that's producing renewable energy for the European market, and really has a very strong focus on that aspect. So it's not something that's always like the first example that comes to mind, but I think with regards to proximity and like the idea of how to really focus your strategy on building new markets, I think that is a very interesting example where lessons could be learned from actually.
Thank you, Johanna. Construction is particularly interesting because it sits at the center of both economic growth and climate discussions. And it's also a sector traditionally dominated by men and older workforce structures. So when we speak about green transition, we often focus on environmental goals, but for businesses, there is also a financial reality. From your experience in the construction sector, Stefan, is sustainability becoming a competitive advantage or mainly an additional cost?
I would like to agree that it's becoming a financial advantage for most companies. In Macedonia, for instance, there are several producers of solar equipment, and they have to be competitive. They have to have energy efficient equipment. Most of their energy needs must be produced from renewable energy sources. And I would like to say, I like the word Johanna said, combined, because our recent training for solar installers is named Combined Renewable Energy Solar Systems. So we don't see competitiveness between different types of renewable energy sources. We see them as a combination and solution. So this kind of combinations, for instance, some companies can use photovoltaics maybe and wind turbines at the same time. This can make them more competitive on the market, to have a better product, better efficient machinery, and less cost for production.
Interesting. And are clients demanding greener solutions in your case?
I recently have experience to share. We organized a small exhibition that was mostly targeted for domestic households and also for businesses, I would say. And when the companies see the financial benefits of a success story, or if let's say certain type of solar system is already implemented, they see the benefits, they see the costs, they see how it's ongoing, they see the monitoring system. When they see that the benefits are real, they invest in it. So we had like before 5 years or 6 years, the photovoltaics system were a little bit of taboo topic. Like, yes, they are here, but we don't know how they are working. And now, similar story with the battery storage systems. Yes, we know they're here, but people want to hear one story that this kind of equipment is already implemented, it's working, it gives the results that it's installed for, and people will follow it very, very fast.
Thank you, Stefan. One of the concerns globally is that transitions can create winners and losers. Some industries grow rapidly, others struggle, some workers adapt more easily than others. Nataliia, how do we make sure the green transition remains inclusive, especially for women, youth, and smaller businesses?
Thank you, Sabin. Yeah, indeed, when we talk about the green transition as a technological shift, but it's actually a social transformation. And as you rightly noted, it may create winners and losers if we intentionally design it not to. So for me, inclusive transition is primarily about the principle of leaving no one behind by design. And that means investing in people, not only sectors. Because indeed transition promises creation of a lot of new job opportunities, but women and young people will not automatically benefit from those just by default. So we have to be very intentional and proactive in designing the programming that addresses those needs, like reskilling, upskilling, targeted programs, and especially according to the current studies, 9 in 10 women lack a single green skill at the moment. It's also important to look into the networking opportunities, access to the finance, and career choices that are free from stereotypes due to some social norms dominated in a certain country, as indeed women are often poorly represented in sectors that are vital to the transition to net zero and climate resilient economies. For me, it also means to look into the closely industries that are at risk, and that goes beyond only fossil fuels, but also the agriculture, the construction that we mentioned today, the transport and logistics. And we must add another layer to this, as AI is disrupting the labor market at the moment. And from this perspective, the routine jobs in administration, in retail, some entry-level professional roles that are usually represented by women and young people, they are being reshaped at the same time as we decarbonize. So yeah, the just transition today has to be both green and digital. And we must reskill workers not just for solar and energy efficiency, but also for AI-enabled economies, so they don't get locked out from the future twice.
And thank you, Nataliia. And what would such a world actually look like? Like, what risks do you see if the transition is not managed inclusively? Like, could you tell us a scenario where there's no inclusivity?
I don't want to sound very pessimistic, but if there is no inclusivity in place, there will be no sustainability, full stop. Neither political nor economical, social, no. So we have to be very intentional about how we design our work nowadays. And I will give you an example, for instance, about the small enterprises that have to be taken into account. They're very critical. They create jobs locally. And sometimes they lack the capacity and capital to go green themselves. So we have to be very intentional in supporting them. And gender smart green investing, specifically for women-led and women-owned enterprises, is very critical in this regard.
Thank you, Nataliia. Stefan, back to you. Is there enough skilled workforce available?
Since 2019, we are the biggest verified training center for solar installers. So I would say that the workforce development is one of the biggest activities that we have as an association. And every time we open a call for a training for solar installers, we always have a full group. We recently finished 2 groups for a thermal power plant in Rek Bitola with the EBRD project. And we had also a training with RECONOMY for designing solar system. We also talk about skills development for installing, but let's not forget about the designing part as well. With RECONOMY, we had, and Helvetas, we had one project for designing solar system energy calculations with red screen. It's a user-friendly tool available in nearly every language, which is pretty rare because we organize different type of activities. I would say that people in the Western Balkan are seeing this opportunity in the green jobs. Do we need more people? I would say yes. Do we have to adapt to new technologies this year or the year before? It's battery storage. Maybe next year it will be some different technologies. For domestic households, it's very popular heat pumps. So we always adapt the program according to the needs. We need additional people. We have also female and male participants. Female participants are pretty good in the designing part, in the details, in the calculations. So I think we will continue, and there are a lot more greener jobs to come.
Thank you, Stefan. The discussion reminds us that green transition is not only about climate, it's also about competitiveness, skills, jobs, inclusion, and ultimately about what kind of economy we want to build for the future. The real challenge is not only making industries greener, but also making sure that the transition creates opportunities that are accessible, inclusive, and sustainable for people across the region. Thank you very much, Lasha, Nataliia, Stefan, and Johanna, for joining this episode. And thank you to everyone watching. Stay tuned.